All right, so let's make a Gibson. A Gibson is basically a martini with cocktail onions instead of olives. When I first started drinking, actually, I almost exclusively drank Gibsons. Admittedly, it was the novelty of ordering something unique. Most bartenders know what it is, but the olives, obviously are the predominant. Everybody knows the martini. Even if they're not necessarily drinking it, at least they know the name. Gibson is something that doesn't come out very often. So it's something, like I said, I drank it more for the novelty. And now that I know what I'm drinking, it's something that I've grown to love. Admittedly, when I was young and stupid, so to speak, I would order the Gibson, the vodka Gibson, and more often than not, I was getting straight vodka with cocktail onion in it. And I enjoyed it at the time because, again, I didn't have a refined palate. I hadn't quite grown to love the cocktails the way I do now. But at the same time, it's something that there's something special about it. It's a very different flavor. It adds a little oomph. There's crunch to it, and obviously the bite of the cocktail onion compared to the olive. Additionally, I will say that, again, the novelty, the brightness of it. Olives have more of a buttery flavor, and yes, there is a briny flavor to it, but it's not the same kind of brine. And the brine of the Gibson really makes a difference. And I'll tell you right now, a true Gibson should have at least a bar spoon of brine in it. It's not, we're not talking dirty martini territory here, which, to be honest, is usually it should be 1 bar spoon. But at the same time, we'll talk about dirty martinis later. Right now, we're going to focus on the Gibson. And like I said, it's a fun drink. It's unique. There's definitely novelty behind it. And like I said, usually any bartender, knows what they're doing, knows how to make one, especially if you're going to go to a fancy spot, some spot that actually specializes in them. Down in Miami, there's a spot, I don't know if it still exists or not. It was called the Gibson Room. They had a solid Gibson. Dear Irving in New York, on the Hudson, Megan Dorman actually is the bartender there. She makes a Gibson that is supposed to be spectacular. I haven't tried it yet. It's one of those spots that every time I go to New York, it's on my list of places to go, and I just haven't been able to check it out. But, and actually I have her recipe. I haven't followed it yet, just because her recipe does call for her own version of the pickled onions. And I haven't had an opportunity. I live in an apartment, unfortunately, so it's one of these, I don't have the space to pickle my own vegetables. Back when I lived in my mom's place, I would have done it. I would have been all about that, and actually pickling my own vegetables was something, pickling my own cocktail onions would have been right up my alley. But again, that ship has sailed. Maybe if I get enough requests for it, I'll go ahead and follow her recipe, make her onions, and make her version of the cocktail. Just a little sneak peek of that. She uses a different kind of vermouth than I'm going to be using today, just because that's what her recipe calls for. Those are her specs. But again, just every bartender has their own riff on it. We're going to go ahead and talk about what we need today, how we're going to do it, and I'll go ahead and break that down. Today, I'm actually going to be doing a vodka Gibson, just like I said before. That was my drink of choice. I'm using Goodnight Loving Vodka. It was recommended, highly rated at Total Wine, so that's why I got it. The Dessalines Vermouth, dry vermouth, is what we're going with today. And I'm using Sable and Rosenfeld Tipsy Onions. Again, any cocktail onion can do. These were the ones that I had available to me, so these are going to be the ones I'm going with. Again, I'm using a coupe glass because that's what I have available. You can use a martini glass, the V-shaped martini glass. You can use the Nick and Nora glass. That Dear Irving Gibson I was telling you about was served in a Nick and Nora, or I should say is served in a Nick and Nora, while the Gibson I had at the Gibson Room actually is served in that V-shaped martini glass. So again, it's all personal preference, whatever works for you. And yeah, like I said before, the specs are exactly the same. So we're going to go ahead and start building this now. It's the 5-to-1 ratio of, in this case it's going to be vodka, but usually it's gin. So 5-to-1, I'm just going to go, actually I'm going to have that. So we're going to go 2.5 of vodka. I'm going to do the 1/2 of the dry vermouth. And then, like I said before, we're going to do a bar spoon of that cocktail onion brine. And actually, unfortunately, this is a brand new jar, so it's full, so I'm going to have to dump out, put out one of my onions in here. This is one of those times that having those picks come in handy. It's a little bit easier. So, like I said, you're going to go grab yourself 1 bar spoon, add it in just for a little bit of brine. Going to stir it until it's chilled. Well combined. All right, so we talked about before the coloration of the cocktails, but depending on how much vermouth it is. As you can see here, it's got that light gold hue, traditional specs, that 5-to-1 ratio of alcohol, in this case vodka, as opposed to the dry gin we usually use. And the only difference here is, like I said, I added 1 bar spoon of the brine, which is going to give it a little bit of freshness. It's going to give it a little salinity to it. Yeah, let's give it a shot. Let's see how it comes out. Yeah, that is wonderful. So, unlike the gin martinis we've been having so far, vodka has, I hate to say it that way because it's not that it has no flavor, but it really has. There's nothing to define it. By definition, you pull up a dictionary and you look at vodka, and vodka is going to be a clear, odorless, tasteless alcohol. And it's true. It doesn't matter. There's no underlying flavor. Yes, you know, there's a little bit of nuance. You'll get smoother. You'll get rougher if we're going with the vodka. But at the end of the day, vodka's vodka. It's not going to have any sort of flavor, which is why I usually don't endorse, or I don't go for one specific brand of vodka over any other one. I usually go with whatever's highly rated and most affordable at Total Wine, or if it's recommended by a bartender or someone at the liquor store. Here, what's really shining is actually not even the vermouth, it's the brine. The vermouth kind of gives it a clean flavor, and you're going to hear me say that a lot. I don't know how to describe it other than clean when we talk about what gets contributed. Specifically, when we go with perfect martinis, when we go with that perfect Manhattan, which we'll get to eventually, there's just a cleanness to the flavor that you don't necessarily get without the vermouth, or when you go drier. And I think I said that when we were talking about the levels of wetness or dryness in a martini. Again, like I said before, you get that salinity right off the bat. And we're just talking about 1 bar spoon. You know, I know people who go a little crazy, you know, and specifically when we're talking about dirty martinis, which is going to be coincidentally my next episode. People go crazy with how much they want to add. You know, is it just the brine? Is it the quote unquote olive juice? You know, do you muddle up an olive in there? And to be honest, I think all that detracts from the taste of the Martini, or in this case, the Gibson. Obviously, if you would muddle up a cocktail onion, you would get a completely different flavor. But just the onion being in there automatically gives it, number one, the tablespoon of brine, the bar spoon of brine, as well as just the onion being in there, gives it a crisp flavor. The coldness makes it very easy to drink. And yeah, the star here is actually the vermouth. It's what's really coming through, but not in a way. It's not like I'm drinking a shot of vermouth. It's not like I'm drinking a glass of vermouth or a wet martini or a reverse martini for that matter. This is literally just the subtle nuances of the vermouth shining through with a potent alcohol. I guess we'll call it a kick, because it goes down very smooth. It's not, I'm not choking on this. I'm not, it's not, you take that first sip and you're, kind of feeling. It's just one of these where you have a smooth flavor with the added support of the alcohol behind it. Now, as far as the onion, as you can tell, I don't know if you can hear it, that has a really great crunch to it. And actually this brand in particular is very sweet. You get that bite from the onion afterwards, but right off the bat, you get the sweetness from the brine, from the pickling. And that is just wonderful. That is really good. So, like I said before, Martinis, Gibsons, same drink, exactly the same drink. It's recommended. And you can ask when you go to the bar, if you order the Gibson, you can ask them, hey, can you add a bar spoon of brine to it? And if, they might say, oh, I already do, or they might be like, oh, no, but I can do that for you. Go for it. It will make a world of difference in the cocktail. Otherwise, it's just a regular martini. And not that there's anything wrong with that. I mean, I love the martini, but at the same time, there's something about that added brine that just kind of pushes it over the edge and makes it something different, as opposed to a martini, a dirty martini, or anything else in that bracket. So I'm going to go ahead and finish this off camera. This is my third episode. Like I said before, the next episode we're going to do is going to be the dirty martini. So we're going to talk about that. We're going to give a little bit of history there. Talk about the popularity. Same thing, I'm going to be going with another vodka martini on that one, and that's my personal preference, but I'll talk about why on that episode. Again, like and subscribe. Hope you guys are enjoying the content. Got lots of ideas, lots of plans for the future, so stick around, and I hope you guys enjoy this journey with me. Thanks. Cheers.